All right. So let me go ahead and jump right in. For those who don't know me, my name is Christina Lee, and I am based out of Seattle, Washington. I am a field director here, and I've been with the company for a few years. I started out as a client first, and I was able to see the value of what we do and the services that we have, because as a client I was able to learn so much. And from there, that's when I got interested in learning how to be an agent myself. And here I am. And I have the wonderful opportunity to work with a lot of amazing people here at Census, which is awesome. And tonight I will be kickstarting the new agent training, and we'll be talking a little bit more about who we are, what we do, and some of the money concepts that we teach. I do prefer our training sessions to be more engaged. So if you have any questions, definitely feel free to just unmute yourself, ask away. If you don't ask, then I don't know, right? Chat room is great, but I prefer to just unmute yourself because sometimes I don't see the chats. And if you're not asking questions, then of course, please mute yourself. All right, but let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so as mentioned earlier, today I'll be covering who we are and what we do. So a little bit about Census. If you haven't heard about this or have known about this, we are not a financial company. Okay, I want to make sure that part is clear. We are an independent marketing organization. So what that means is that Census is a platform. It's a platform for someone like me, who is an independent contractor, someone like you, right, getting licensed to also become an independent contractor. It's a great platform for us to plug in, and also for us to learn and not only get the onboarding, get the training, but also actually conduct a business, right? We have the resources here because Census provides that platform for you to build a business. Okay, so that being said, that's why it's an independent marketing organization. We do not have financial products that Census creates because it's not a financial company. Okay, now that being said, since Census is a platform, it connects people with financial product providers. So I like to think of it kind of like Uber, right? Uber does not have cars, right? It's not a car manufacturing company, but it has a platform that connects people who drives with people who need rides, right? It's that connector. That's what Census does. It provides us with a platform so we're able to connect clients to financial products that could better serve them to help them accomplish some of their financial goals. Okay, that's the reason why this company is amazing, because it's really driven by a mission to help families make financial decisions that are actually right for them. Our whole process, our whole system is built for us to better understand where is the client at right now, what are their goals, and how can we help them fill those gaps? How can we help them get there, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And another amazing part about this organization is that it's a company where people from many different backgrounds are able to come together and work together to help families. So like for myself, my background's actually in tech. You know, I've been in the corporate world for about 12 years in sales. So my background is not in finance, but I was able to get onboarded. I was able to get the training that was needed for me to meet with clients, for me to build a business, right? So you're able to get connected with so many different people all over the US with different backgrounds. And from this Zoom call alone, I can see that there's a lot of different people from different states here as well, right? And I'm sure we all have different backgrounds. So that's one thing that I feel like this company is very different in, and it sets us apart from other organizations out there. These are some of the companies that we represent, meaning that these are the financial companies. The logos that you see are the financial companies that you as a life and annuity agent is able to represent and you are affiliated with. Because you are a part of this Census company that you're utilizing that platform. Okay, so again, Census is not a financial company. It's a platform. It's a connecting company that connects you to a lot of different companies out there. Like some of these companies have been around for like 175 years. Some of these companies provide the actual number one product, you know, in the industries that they're in the industry that we're in. Right? These are all like very high graded, A graded companies that we are affiliated with. Very credible, well-known companies. Okay. Another thing is that we are currently in partnership with a company called F&G. Okay, F&G is an annuities and life organization, and they are, I think their assets is about $45 billion in assets that they have. So it's a very large company that we are in partnership with. This partnership started back in January 31st, 2023. So this was a big deal. It came out all over like Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg. It came out everywhere because this type of partnership didn't happen before, right? But because of the way things are changing right now, especially with the baby boomers and also with millennials, you know, things are changing pretty rapidly right now. One of the things that you're seeing in this financial field is that there is a need for diversity. There is a need for women. There is a need for millennials. There is a need for targeting the middle class, right? So that's the reason why Census is very unique in that we cover all of those things that I've just mentioned. We are a very, very unique organization. So that's why we were able to get into this equity partnership with a $45 billion company. Okay, so that's why this was all over the news. And this is something that you can talk to this company about as well. You see F&G at our events, and you can ask them, like, can you share a little bit more about this diversification strategy? Like, why did you partner with Census? And I know that they're going to be more than happy to share from their perspective as well. Okay, so if you take a look at our financial services menu, there's a lot. Okay, yes, life insurance, annuities, those are the products that we have. But I don't want you to just be so narrow-minded, and that only because there's a lot that you can do when it comes to strategizing. That's the reason why the financial services menu, it is very long. Okay, and that's the reason why we want to make sure that you are leveraging the system properly and getting the field trainings in, because that's the legitimate way for you to be exposed to all the different strategies and different ways to utilize some of these products to, you know, to make sure it's structured the right way and whatnot. Without the trainings, it's really hard to do it by yourself, right? So instead of making all those mistakes, we want to make sure that you're getting led the right way. So we have what we call field trainings, and we'll talk about that too. Okay. One of the things, or these are some of the key things that I feel like, especially nowadays, is very popular or high demand, right? We're looking for work that is flexible, that's mobile, right? Census offers that, right? You have that flexibility because of things like Zoom, right? Like everyone here is from all over the country, right? So we're able to meet from pretty much anywhere. You have the opportunity to either make income as active income, but there's also a way for you to make passive income because it's a building company, meaning you are able to build businesses that can yield passive income for you as well. So you're not just limited to one type of income stream here. You also have, once you become a business owner, and you have that discipline that you are operating a profitable business, right? You do have the autonomy as well. And you have that mentorship. So if you're not there yet, you have the guidance and mentorship from those who's already have been successfully doing it themselves. Okay, so it's a very unique organization where you're able to really tap into all of these different benefits that you see here on this screen. Okay, the things that we really teach here, because kind of going back to the mission that I've mentioned earlier, is to educate families, right? We want to educate them so that they're making the right financial decisions, not only for themselves, but also for their families. So the things that we teach, number one, we call it 4 steps to financial strength. Okay, so, and I'm going to go through this as well, but it's essentially we have organized different financial concepts as 4 steps. Okay, so it's easier to understand. So it's a little bit more simple, but essentially these 4 steps are focused to help you become financially stronger. Okay, we also teach basic financial concepts, and we'll go through some of that today as well. A lot of people go through their day-to-day without knowing a lot about these financial concepts that actually affect them, right? So we want to make sure that this information is taught even to our agents, not only to our agents, but also to our clients, okay? We also teach basic insurance concepts. Life insurance does have a stigma, and a lot of people don't know much about life insurance, okay? But it can be used in a lot of different ways and in a lot of different strategies. So we do teach on that as well, because it can be a great tool to help individuals meet their financial goals, okay? So why do we teach this? When you take a look at Social Security, right? 68% of people over 65 years of age, they have incomes of $30,000 or less. So that shows us we can't depend on Social Security, okay? Because Social Security, if you take a look at the fine lines on the website itself, it talks about the funds depleting, right? And I think that's a common knowledge that many people know about as well, right? So it can dry out. Pensions, very rare nowadays, right? A lot of companies now offer things like 401k, but even with that, it's not very, no one is really educated on how retirement really works either, right? Some people are like, oh, well, I'll just depend on my own work ethic, I'll just work until I die. But, that's if a job is guaranteed, and that's not a for sure thing either. And personal savings, a lot of Americans don't know how to save. Okay, so that's the reason why only 68% or 68% of people who are 65 years of age or older, they have such little income because of a lot of these varying reasons, right? So what you can really see is that you can't really depend on things like government. We can't depend on, I've been working at this corporation for 30 years or whatnot. There's been so many layoffs happening as well, right? It really comes down to us, right? What is it that how is it what are we going to do for us to properly retire? How are we going to save, right? In order to have that lifestyle or the retirement that we want to accomplish some of the goals that we have. That's the reason why we teach a lot of this information. Okay, so when you take a look at the 4 steps to financial strength, the first step is to manage your money wisely. It might sound elementary, but a lot of people actually have a very hard time with this. Okay, so making sure that you don't spend more than what you make, right? Understanding money coming in and money going out, right? Managing your debt. If you have a lot of debt, do you have a plan to get out of debt? And also, do you have an emergency fund? If something happens to you tomorrow, then what's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to your kids? Are you going to be able to pay the bills, right? Do you have an emergency fund in place? We also talk about setting financial goals, making sure that you have a roadmap to follow. If you don't have a goal, then it's really hard for you to really live a different life or, have something else going for you, because at the end of the day, you do need a roadmap. Things don't just randomly happen, right? Things are intentional. So how are we going to make certain things come to fruition? What type of seeds are we planting? What type of roadmap do we have, right? So that's the reason why we want to make sure that at least at the very first step, you have a plan to manage your money wisely. We also talk about protecting your income and your family, right? Making sure you're protecting who you love, what you own, right? What you owe, right? Liabilities too. You don't want that to fall onto your family. We want to make sure that there's some sort of protection in place, risk mitigation in place, so that you are able to have a strong financial foundation. Okay, so those are the basic things that we really take a look at, and we also teach on. We also take a look at and also educate individuals on how to accumulate your assets. And these are the money concepts that we are going to be talking about today. right? How does inflation work? Like, what is the effect of inflation? How does compound interest work? What are the effects of taxes, of risk, right? So these are certain things that you can Google this, you can find it online, right? But these are things that's been around for a while, but we don't learn this at school. We may learn certain concepts at a very, very high level, but we don't learn how do you apply it to your own personal finances. That's the reason why we teach it. And then we also teach the most important part, which I believe is the application side. And that's through what we call a personal financial checkup, which I will also talk about as well. Okay. And then step 4 is how do you preserve that legacy? Too many times, there are stories where assets go into probate, where, I know someone who owned homes, whose family owns real estate, multiple properties. It all went to probate, even though these properties were paid off, right? Because they didn't preserve their legacy the right way. Okay, so what can we do? How can we properly plan so that that doesn't happen to me or my family, right? We don't want our kids to not enjoy what we work so hard. You don't want all that to go to court fees, right? That's not why we're working so hard, right? We want to pass down a legacy. Then it's very important to understand this, how to do that properly, and how to plan accordingly to the laws that we have in this country as well. Okay, so that's why we are also affiliated with professionals who can help with things like preserving your legacies, and we teach on that as well. Okay, so the reason why this is very important is because a lot of the times, we expect our lifetime, right? As we get older, we expect our assets to go up and we expect our liabilities to go down, right? We don't think about the what ifs in life, right? We expect, okay, well, when I'm younger, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to build a lot of assets, right? Because this is my accumulation phase. That way, when I get older, right, I'm able to preserve everything that I've been working so hard for, which in theory is true. That's what you want to do. But what happens if, let's say you're in your 30s and you get diagnosed with cancer, right? And you have to go to the hospital. I had a family member who had no protection, went to the hospital for a heart attack, was there for 5 days, walked out with a bill of $100,000. Couldn't work because he had to recover and has a bill of $100,000. All of a sudden, your liability shot up. Assets are frozen or going down because there's no income coming in. There's no cash flow coming in because you can't work, right? So these are real things that could happen and we don't consider, we don't think about it because we're like, oh, it's never going to be me until it becomes you, right? So that's the reason why for us it's very important to spread the information, spread the knowledge, because we don't want that to happen to people around us. We don't want it to be too late. Okay, so that's the reason why we not only teach on, okay, yes, saving is mandatory, that's important, but you also need to save with a proper plan in place. Okay, so going right into the money concepts that we teach. I'm not going to talk too much about inflation because I feel like that's something that all of us feel as we go grocery shopping, right? Like I remember when limes used to be like 10 cents, 12 cents. Now it's like almost $1, which is ridiculous to me, right? A bowl of pho used to be like $5, $6, $7 for small, medium, large. Now it's like $18, $19. So inflation, we feel it, we see it. If inflation is essentially when the purchasing power of the dollar goes down, right? And historically, it's been between 3 to 5%. We did have really high ones. In January 2023, last year, it was 7.6. I know in 2022, it was like super high at like 9% at one time, right? 9.1%. So it has been pretty crazy and we have been seeing that. But essentially what this means to you is that if you don't have income that's also going up 3 to 5, 7%, then you're going to get outpaced because cost of living is just going up way too high. right? So that's why we either need to have a plan B, right, to make up for that, or something that's growing with compound interest to offset some of that, okay? So that we don't get outpaced by inflation. So compound interest is something that we can use as a strategy to offset inflation, okay? A lot of us are familiar with what we call simple interest. Simple interest is when you get a percentage of the principals. For example, if the principal balance is $10,000 and the interest rate is 10%, 10% of $10,000, you get $1,000. Year two, you're still getting 10% of the principal balance of 10K. So you get another 1,000 and so on forth. Okay. Now, compounding interest is when you get the interest of not only the principal, but also the interest as well. So the total amount. So for year one, 10% of 10,000 is $1,000. But year two, the new total amount is the principal of 10K plus the interest of 1,000. So it's 11,000. So you get 10% of that, which is 1,100, and so on forth. So you're getting interest on interest on interest on interest on interest. Okay. So in the beginning, it might not seem like it's a big difference, but over time with compounding interest, it's a huge difference. As you can see from year 50, it's 60K here with simple interest versus $1.1 million with compound interest. So as you can see from this graph right here, right, with simple interest, it's a steady, it's still growth, right? But compounding interest in the beginning, it's a little bit, but over time, it's an exponential growth like this. It jumps up. Okay, so that's why time does play a key part in compounding interest. There is a formula called Rule of 72 discovered by Albert Einstein. And this is a formula that determines the number of years it'll take for your money to double. So how the formula works is whatever that interest is, you divide it by 72. Okay, then that will determine that's how long it'll take for your money to double. Okay, now I want you to start thinking about this, because how many years do you have? That's another key thing. If you don't have a lot of years, then you better have a good rate of return, because that's going to be really important to you, right? Because do you have, like, let's say if the interest is 1%, do you have 72 years to double your money? Versus if the interest is 10%, that's 7.2 years. That's a huge difference right there, right? This is just an example of how important time is as it relates to compounding interest. So as you can see, this is an example of Jill and Mark. So Jill over here decides at age 19, she is still living with family. So she said, hey, you know what? I'm working, I'm living with family, but I want to set aside the money that I'm making. Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot. I'm going to set aside $500 since I don't have to pay bills, or I don't really have to pay for rent. I'm living with my family. I have a lot of spending money, but instead of spending it, I'm going to save it. Okay, so Jill starts setting aside $500. So that's $6,000 a year since age 19. Now, Mark, on the other hand, is excited. I have all this money. I don't have a lot of expenses. I'm going to spend it, right? I'm going to buy the nice cars. I'm going to buy the nice things. I'm going to spend it. Okay. So that's how Mark decides to use his money while Jill is thinking about the future. Now, come age 30, maybe Jill, I don't know, has more expenses now, or maybe she starts a family. I don't know, but she decides to stop setting aside the $6,000 a year. Meanwhile, Mark is like, okay, I'm 30 now. I got to grow up. I'm going to start thinking about my future. Okay. Now he starts setting aside $500 a month or $6,000 a year. Okay. Now come age 65, Jill set aside a total of $72,000 from age 19 to 30, right? Mark, on the other hand, put away $216,000 from the age 30 to 65. So he put away a lot more money. But because Jill had a head start of 11 years, right, she ends up with more money of $570,000 more. The reason is because she had more time for her money to double. She started early, so it's doubling and doubling and doubling over the years, versus Mark, he started late. I mean, better late than never, but with compound insurance, when's the best time to start? Yesterday. So if you don't have anything growing with compound interest, that's when you need to start thinking, well, what am I doing for myself? Remember, knowledge is only power when you're applying it. If you're not applying it, it's not power. Okay. Another thing that we teach on is on taxes. So when it comes to tax timing, these are 3 categories that we teach on. The first category is called tax now. This is when you are paying taxes on any earnings from gains. Okay, so this can be like capital gains from, it can be gains from like a CD account. I know recently CDs have been doing very well, so a lot of people opened up CDs, which is great, but the gains on it, you do pay taxes on. Okay, even the 0.0001% of interest that you get on a savings account, you pay taxes on. You may have a stock portfolio, right? If there's any gains on that and you sell it, you pay taxes on it. Crypto, same thing, mutual funds, even real estate, right? As real estate appreciates, when you sell it, right, there is a gain, so you pay capital gains tax on that. Okay, so you already pay income tax, and then from any gains that you earn, you pay another tax on it. So essentially you are getting taxed twice on the monies that you've earned. So you get tax on the seed and also on the harvest. Now here, tax later. This is when you are not paying tax right now, but you are taxed later, meaning after the money grows, you are taxed on the harvest, not the seed. Okay, so this includes your 401k, 403b, TSA, TSP, the IRA, SEP, so retirement accounts. You are not taxed on the seed, but later, once it grows, on the harvest, you are taxed. Okay, there's also a category called tax advantage. This is when you are taxed on the seed and not on the harvest. Okay, so your money, since you've already paid taxes on it, after it grows, you do not pay taxes. So this includes your Roth IRA, Roth 401k, 529 plan, HSA, municipal bonds, cash value life insurance. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of different types of accounts out there. That's why it's important to understand, well, what's important to you? What are your goals? What are you missing in your portfolio that you need in order to accomplish those goals? Where are those gaps? From there, then we can determine, well, then this would make sense for you. Based on the purpose of that money, the purpose of that savings, this would make sense for you. Right? So that's why we do what we call a personal financial checkup to determine this. Okay, why this is important? If you don't properly diversify your taxes, right, it could affect your take home. And this is an example I like to show to explain this. So we have Grandpa A here and Grandpa B. Grandpa A has $2,500 a month that he gets from his Social Security income, $2,500 a month he gets from his 401k, $2,500 a month he gets from his rental property, and $2,500 a month he gets from a traditional IRA. So totaling an income of $10,000 a month. Grandpa B gets $2,500 from Social Security income, $2,500 from an IUL, $2,500 from a rental property, and $2,500 from a Roth IRA. So he also gets $10,000 a month income. Okay, so income-wise, they are both $10,000 a month. But going back to this, what's taxable and what's not taxable? So $2,500 401k, taxable. Rental property income, taxable. Traditional IRA, taxable. Because he has a lot of taxable income, now a good chunk of his Social Security income is also taxable. Okay, because his tax bracket is higher, because he has a lot of taxable income. Now his net take home, right, yearly is $92,280. Now Grandpa B, IUL, non-taxable. Roth IRA, not taxable. Rental property is taxable, but his taxable income is little. Now his tax bracket is less and his Social Security income is also taxed less. So his take home is actually $114,600 versus Grandpa A. Even though their income, quote unquote, income was the same, the take home is different because Grandpa B properly diversified his tax categories while Grandpa A didn't. Okay, and again, these are the type of things that we can uncover during a PFC. We can take a look and see, well, what do you have? What does the client have? Right? If they want a lot of tax savings right now, or are they looking for tax savings later? Like, we can take a look at all of that and properly analyze it for them for the best solution. That's why we do a personal financial checkup, to best offer something that makes sense for them. Okay. Another thing that we cover is risk. So what is market risk? For those who are familiar with stocks, you probably already know this, but market risk is essentially when you lose money in the market, it does take a lot more for you to break even. What I mean by break even is for you to get your money back. Many people think, oh, well, I only lost 50% and the market gained 50%. I got my money back. No, that's not how it works. As you can see here, if you lost 50%, you need to make 100% to make your money back. This is the return that you need in order to break even. So this is the picture that I like to show. If you had $100,000, let's say the market goes up 50%, market goes down 50%, you now have $75,000. If you wanted your money back, it had to go up 100% for every 50% that you lost, like how you can see here. Then you get your money back because you have to recover from the losses. So a lot of people who don't understand this, right? They don't understand why their money just keeps on going down, 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 down after putting money in one time. Okay. That's the reason why we also introduce what we call dollar cost averaging. Some of you may have heard of this, some of you may not have heard of this, but this is essentially when you put, instead of putting money in lump sum and just hoping and praying that it goes up, dollar cost averaging is you're spreading it out. So instead of putting in, let's say, $3,000 one time, this example shows contributing $1,000 at a time per month. You're spreading it out. Okay, why would I do that, you might ask? Okay, so let's kind of think about this. Let's say you have $3,000. Okay, let's say if you only have $3,000 and a cost of one share is $1,000, you're able to buy 3 shares, right? The whole concept of dollar cost averaging is because you're spreading it out and because the market is going up and down, hopefully you're able to buy when the market is low. So going back to this example, let's say instead of buying 3 shares at once by putting in $3,000 into the market one time, let's say you spread it out. So month 1, you contribute $1,000. Okay, so you were able to buy 1 share. Okay, so if you sold that share, the value is $1,000. Let's say month 2, maybe the market dropped a lot. Oh my gosh, the cost of a share went down to $1. Heart attack, right? So if the cost went down to $1, now you're able to buy 1,000 shares. Okay, you with me? From the previous month, you bought that 1. This month, you're able to buy 1,000. So now you own 1,001 shares. If you sold those shares today, you would have $1,001. That's the value. How much did you put in? $2,000. What's the value now? $1,001. Okay, now month 3. Okay, you put in another $1,000 because you understand, even though the market's down, I'm still contributing. Okay, now the market went up. Now the cost of that 1 share went up to $10. Okay, if you were to buy that, you're able to buy 100 shares. Now you own 1 that you bought from month 1, 1,000 that you've bought from month 2, and the 100 that you've bought from month 3. So now you own 1,101 shares. If you were to sell that in today's cost, now the value is $11,010. How much did you put in? $3,000. How much is the value? $11,000. Okay, so the idea of dollar cost averaging is, again, you're not putting in money one time. If you put that $3,000 in one time and you only bought 3 shares, right, then you wouldn't have been able to own 1,101 shares, and your value would not have been this. So you're putting it in sporadically. So the idea of stocks is that that's a smarter way to invest. So things like 401k, right? It's a retirement plan that's tied to the stock market. You're forced, quote unquote, forced to contribute with each paycheck. You with me? Because it just automatically deducts. You don't see it. It automatically deducts from every single paycheck and it goes into the market. So that's the dollar cost averaging that's happening. So the money is going up. But what happens when you quit your job, when you get laid off? Now you're no longer contributing because you don't have a paycheck, right? So it's no longer taking money from the paycheck. It's just a lump sum money that's just sitting there. That's why this happens up and down, up and down. No more money is going in, no dollar cost averaging happening, so the money goes down. Okay, so that's the reason why when we talk to individuals who change jobs, who has a 401k or an IRA that's no longer sponsored, meaning they are no longer contributing to it anymore, right? It's very, very important that we take a look at it because it probably went down. Okay, and again, these are things that we explain and we educate people on because no one teaches us these things, right? We think, oh yeah, it's gonna go up. It's in the stock market. But there's nothing that's happening. No contribution anymore, right? And market is always going to go up and down, up and down. And of course, if you're not taught this, right? Of course, when the money goes down, how would you have known? So that's the reason why we teach on these concepts to both clients and also to agents. And we teach on the importance of having a financial portfolio review done, because a lot of the times people are blindsided when it comes to these type of things. Okay, I've had someone who lost $100,000 from this alone. He switched careers from Microsoft to Boeing. They both use the same 401k company. So he thought, oh yeah, it automatically rolls over. He didn't do anything. He left it alone. No longer contributed to his Microsoft 401k. And then years later, we take a look, account is closed, 0. And he had no idea. He was expecting that money for his retirement. So again, it's very important to educate people because, again, how else would they know? So that's why we teach on these type of concepts. Another thing to understand when it comes to interest and interest types is that there are different types. There's fixed, variable, and index. When we talk about market risk, it's variable, okay? There's also things called fixed and index. So fixed is a guaranteed, right? Guaranteed percentage, so it's safe. But what are the cons? It's low, so you can get outpaced by inflation, okay? There's also variable, which is the market. So when the market is doing good, when it goes up, we're all good, we're all happy. But when the market goes down, everyone's sad, right? So it's also very risky. There's also index. Index is when the market goes up, your money goes up, but there is a cap. Okay, that's the con, it's limited. But when the market drops, your money is locked in. Okay, when the market goes up, your money goes up. But when the market drops, your money is locked in. So it looks like staircases like this. Okay, so this is an example from the historic facts, okay, from the years 1999 to 2011. And the reason why we just chose this time frame is because a lot did happen in the market. So it kind of shows you how these type of interests work, okay? So variable, when the market went up to 18.49%. In this example, the index cap is 6%, which is actually kind of low, by the way, but let's just, for example purposes, it's at 6%. Now, when the market dropped because of the dot-com burst, right? The tech bubble burst, it went down negative 11.82%. It went down negative 10%, negative 21.25%. Every single time it drops, Here, the money is locked in at 0. Market dropped again, locks in at 0. Market dropped again, locks in at 0. So there's no recovery. Remember, we talked about when the market goes down, you have to make up for that loss. So you have to have a lot more gains in order to break even. There's no need for that with this index strategy right here. Okay. Later, when the market continues to jump up, because it is going to correct itself, it will go back up. Here, index also goes up. You're participating in the gains. But when the market dropped, 2008, mortgage crisis happened. It went down negative 35%. Again, here, your money is locked in. So you don't need to recover from any losses. You're not participating in the loss. And then when the market corrected itself, you participate in the gains. Okay. So as you can see, right, there's a different pros and cons for each one of this. So again, we do a PFC to see, well, what do you have? How are you utilizing it? And what purpose does it serve? That's the key. What purpose does it serve? That's why we want to make sure that when we do our servicing, yes, these are all great, right? This is all that since this comes with the work that we do, it's great. But at the end of the day, what we really do is really take a look at what we call personal financial checkup. We take a look at the client's, current situation, financial situation. What does your financial portfolio look like right now? Right? Is it in alignment to what your goals are? Your short-term, long-term goals, right? Does it fit? Does it make sense? Do the products that you're using right now, does it fit into your plans? Or maybe we should take a look at a different option for you, right? So that's the reason why we do a PFC. It is a reality check that we all get. It was a reality check for me. I thought my retirement was great. I thought I did not need anything else until I had a PFC done. That's when I realized, wow, 90% of my portfolio is variable. So when the market drops, I have nothing to offset it. Yes, I'm young, right? I'm young and I like that. I can recover, yes, but I don't have anything to offset. And also, majority of what I had was all taxable. I had nothing that was non-taxable. And that was a very hard reality check for me. So again, that's why we have a PFC. For those who haven't had a PFC yet, this will be something where you're going to have an opportunity to talk to a professional and talk about your current financial goals and also see where you're at right now, where you want to go, see if you're on track. For those who are an agent, I encourage you to review your PFC again. Talk to your trainers and see, well, now I have certain goals that I want to accomplish. Can you review my PFC one more time? Okay, PFC is not a one-time thing. It is an ongoing thing that you're able to do a progress check on, and you should be monitoring anyways, right? It's a thing that you're able to monitor, go back to, so that you're able to make sure you're on track to accomplish those goals. Okay, so today I just wanted to really touch on the money concepts, who we are, like what is it that we do, right? Again, this is just the first part of the new agent training series. You will have additional trainings where we talk more about different things as well. But any questions on anything that I've shared with you tonight? No questions? All right. Oh,
Wait,
okay,
I've got a question. So
yes.
you showed an example of the interest types, and two of them started at 100K, but the fixed interest rate started at about 88, I think. Why?
Let me go back. So for the example, for that example, it's, I don't know why, it's just that picture. It's just that image where it started at a lower amount. Even if it didn't start at 88K, right? Let me actually look for
It would end up still less than
yeah.
the index, but it's
No. I hear what you're asking
all right.
for. I don't know why that specific image has that But there is other images that I can share with you. I just need to find it real quick. Where it shows if all three of them, it's out at the same level. Give me a minute and I can open that for you. Any other questions?
If there wasn't any specific reason, you don't need to show a different example. It seemed inconsistent. I figured I'd ask.
No, that's a complete valid question that you had. Yeah, I don't know why that specific picture it's like that. Here's another picture that I will share with you just for explanation purposes. So same thing. So here is a fixed, right? This is variable based on S&P 500. And this is the index strategy. So yeah, I don't know why that other picture started off at a different number, but this one shows at the 100% or 100,000. So any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Could you go back to dollar cost averaging again and how it's like the same concept as market risk?
Yeah, so anything in specific, maybe we should start there. Anything in specific from dollar cost averaging that didn't make sense to you?
I guess overall, like just in general.
Okay, just kind of like another refresh of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so dollar cost averaging, here, let me go back to that slide. Okay. And then Ashley also asked the question, is it because of the surrender charge? Could you be more specific, please? Okay, so this is for the dollar cost average. I'm going to write on here, okay? So as you can see, so here, this is comparing if you were to put in, let's say, $3,000. Let's say month one, here it shows you contributed 1,000. But let's say another option is, I want to contribute $3,000. Okay. Now, if you were to contribute $3,000 and a cost of one share is $1,000, then how many shares are you able to buy? 3. Right? Because one costs 1,000, so you're able to buy 3 if you have $3,000. Okay. Now you own 3 shares. If you sold those 3 shares, the value is $3,000. You with me, right? Now, month 2, all of a sudden, the cost went down to 1. You still only have 3 shares because you've contributed 1 time. Okay, but now, what is the value? Oh, sorry, let me delete this one. I wrote it in the wrong section. So now you're not buying anymore because you've already contributed 3,000. Now you own 3 shares. If you were to sell that in today's dollar, what's the value? $3. How much did you put in? 3,000. How much is the value? $3 because the market went down. Okay. Now, month 3, you don't contribute anymore because you've already contributed 1 time, 3,000. Now the cost went up to $10. Okay. You still own only 3 shares. Now, if you were to sell those 3 shares at $10, what's the value? $30. How much did you contribute? $3,000. So with stocks, it's recommended to spread it out. So that's called dollar cost averaging, to spread out the contributions like this versus putting it in one time, hoping and praying that it's going to go up. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
Yes, of course. And then Ashley, could you elaborate a little bit, please, on the surrender charge? You asked, is it because of the surrender charge?
Oh, never mind. I was thinking about because that started from like 88K, like lower amount. I thought it was like taking out the surrender charge from like some products.
Okay. No, that was just I don't know why for that specific picture, but the images was just to show the concept idea of those fixed, variable, and indexed interests. Any other questions? Nope. Going once, going twice. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I know it's late for some of you. Our next session will be on NAT 2, and it's talking about insurance basics. Okay, so please make sure to tune in, and we can definitely learn more about the insurance side of things. It will be on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So thank you all so much for joining in, and we will see you same Zoom number, same time on Wednesday.